Hello everyone, my name is Kathy Carden and I am so glad we can come together and paint again. Today our subject is going to be a pumpkin. It's almost pumpkin season here in Utah. I just can't wait to paint it, so I'm going to do one today. And when it comes to the beginning of October, the end of October, when the pumpkins are all over the place. Actually, we can see some pumpkins for sale in the stores right now. And but when they are all everywhere, then we will do another one, and hopefully we will. And I would like to do one with orange and green, but we'll see. But that's my plan. Okay, today I just wanted to first of all show you guys this tape that I actually found in Lowe's, and it has it is actually kind of like a washi tape. It's very thick. There's a lot of tapes in here, and I use that I'll show you over here. I use that to tape the painting down, and when I pull it, then because it's so low tag, then it doesn't do as much damage to the painting. I thought I will just tell you that. Okay, let's go on, and I'll show you some of the color that I found is very useful for painting pumpkin. The cadmium, red medium, and the Indian yellow actually mixed together in various proportion. Some of them more yellow, some of them more red, make a really pretty pumpkin color. I really like that. And so in this painting, I have a little bit of French ochre and transparent red oxide. That color is very good for the shadowy part, and quinacridone burnt orange for some of the texture of the pumpkin. So I thought I will show you that. And of course, the background is a whole bunch of green and yellows. And I actually have made a video right before this one on how do I usually draw a pumpkin, and this is one of the eraser that I use, and I will post the name of this eraser. It's really good on the description, because this eraser you can come in and kind of get rid of some of the darker pencil mark, and you can actually erase. So I usually just draw directly on the paper, and I use this to erase, and I find that it doesn't really disturb the paper at all. It's a very good eraser. I use that a lot. It's very nice. And so after I do the initial drawing, I usually do this so that I can get rid of as many of the pencil mark as I can. And so today we're just going to do the pumpkin, because my background is usually just the same as the other before. I like to drop color, and but if you would like me to do a background, you can always let me know. Okay? And so thank you so much for coming to paint along with me, and we will get started. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I will tell myself mentally that I will get it, put it in my mind that in this area right here, and for this one it'll be this area right here, and it come down. Those are the highlight area, okay? And I will just have to try the best that I can when I'm painting to leave those as highlight, so that the form of the pumpkin is more round, like a ball. When we leave the highlight, then it just appears that way. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this one, and I think it's easier if you paint them by section. So I'm going to start painting over here, and maybe not each one section, maybe we can do 2. Sometime I will do 3. In the beginning, I think that's easier for us to control the color, so it's not so overwhelming to paint the whole pumpkin as fast as we can all at once. Pumpkin is easier because it has section off naturally. So let's try to do that, and you see what I meant by that. Okay, so I'm here mixing up some of my cadmium yellow and cadmium red deep with my Indian yellow. So I'm going here, I am trying to be very conscious of leaving some of the highlight. The highlight, I mean where the sun shine on the pumpkin, if the sun is coming like that direction. And I would like to leave that so that maybe it's just a little bit over here, so that when the whole painting is done, it will give the impression that the sun really, is hitting the pumpkin at the right spot, okay? And then for this second section of the pumpkin over here is actually, the highlight should be around here somewhere. I am currently looking at a picture on Pinterest of just a regular pumpkin, so as to help me. That has some sun on it. The picture is quite good. I think it's somebody's pumpkin, and it looks like there are some sun shining on the light coming and shining on the pumpkin. And so I will follow where the highlight is and just do it as such. I think with the size of my brush, doing two sections is actually quite good. And it gives me time to pause and think. It's good to keep your eye open for where the light is, okay? So now that after I'm done with this two, I'll jump over here to the painting and trying to do this area and trying to keep the highlight, okay? That actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to let the edge of the pumpkin disappear into the background. Okay, at least I'm going to try my best in doing so. Okay, so I see a line over here, and this line is actually quite important. We need to get that painted on the pumpkin. Okay, and so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take a little bit of a smaller brush, and I'll dab in some water so it's wet but not dripping wet. Okay, just kind of damp brush, and I'll try to pull this color out. Pull this color out until I'm not going to have a very defined line over there. And just let the edge of the pumpkin kind of disappear into the background. Now, you can still see there's an edge of a pumpkin over there, but it's not as strong of a color. Okay, I decided that I just dabbed the color and the line is too intense. Okay, come over and soften it and just let it disappear, okay? Okay, try to clean up the edge a little bit, okay? And so now I'm on the other side of the stem of the pumpkin, and I needed to be consistent because because there's some light coming through here. This is the part of the pumpkin where the light actually hit the pumpkin the most. Oh, I find that when I'm painting and talking at the same time, it is indeed quite hard. I speak English as a second language, and when I'm painting, it's even harder. But I shouldn't have made it up excuse for myself because I've been in America for over 30 some years. So it shouldn't be hard, but sometimes it still is. Okay, I'm quite happy with this because I can give an impression to the audience, that to the people that's looking at this painting, that the pumpkin is actually disappearing into the background. The part where the light hit on the pumpkin, I really like doing things like that. Okay, so this needs to be a little bit of a sharper there. There you go. Okay, so this is still wet, so I can actually work on this section too, and the same care. I go into it. I wanted to be able to do the same thing over here. Sometimes it's very frustrating. I wish the brush is a little drier, but it is not. It's just full of pigment over here, so I need to just be careful and work with it. But actually, most of the time, I'm not that uptight of a person, and so if it is not exactly what I wanted, I'm usually okay with it, because watercolor should be nice and loose and allow the water to do its thing, but it's good to have some control, because sometimes watercolor, if you let it get too much out of control, then it does what it wanted. Okay, so this is the clean brush, right? There's no pigment in it, and I'm just pulling out this color, pulling out the pumpkin color, which is the Indian yellow plus, and then I will give you the impression that there's actually light shining over here, and when the light shine, the pumpkin color actually almost turned white. If you look at nature, and it's actually quite pretty because it tells our eyes that this is a round object. Okay, I get that too done, and I guess at this point maybe I should do this part and leave it, and then lead up to the second section over here. Okay, so this is where my highlight is. I think as I watched my other video, I thought that maybe I should actually tell you guys what I'm doing. Leave some of the highlight, and for over that part and the highlight over this section, it should be somewhere around here. Somewhere around here. The highlight will be, this is the biggest highlight, and you got more highlight over here too. But since we're doing these two sections, so I'll just try my best. Because it's watercolor, it's not oil or acrylic. For those two medium, you do have a little more time. But with watercolor, sometimes we have to do things a little, paint a little faster. So we need to have a game plan, so to speak, decide where I'm going to leave out the highlight, where I'm not going to. And before the watercolor had a chance to dry, and once it's dry, it's harder to, it's not that you can't fix the mistake, it's just a little bit harder. Okay, and then I'm going to round the corner. One of my problem is I don't mix a big puddle of color. One of these days I will show you a video of how I mix color over on the side. And my problem is I don't really mix enough color. to last me through. And so as I'm painting, sometimes I ran out of color. A lot of the time I ran out of color fast, and then I have to go in and rescue myself, so to speak. Okay, I'm quite happy with this highlight that I left there. Okay, and so you might think, well, over here you kind of soften the color, and over here the color you still leave them a little bit kind of a harsh line. A lot of time I don't bother, you know. I think I like the way it is a harsh line, but since those are so soft, in order to be consistent, I will come in and just soften this just a little bit. I, of course, could be a little bit faster with doing that, but it's okay with me. I think they will turn out to be pretty either way, but if you like to do that, you can come in and soften it just a little bit, okay? Okay, now we're on to this two section, okay? From the picture I'm looking at, and sorry I can't show you because my camera is kind of fixed on a tripod. And so, from what I can see, for this one, the highlight is over here, and actually some of this part has disappeared into the background too. So I'm gonna come in and try to get rid of that pencil line. Just let that area, leave out that area, and this area is darker, okay? So I'm gonna, as you can see with most of my painting, I start from the darker area first. Oh, okay. I'm looking at my pencil drawing, and a part of it looked ambiguous to me, so now I realize what's happening. It's okay. I will try to do that. Okay, I'll start at the darker area, and then work myself over to the light. Okay, I think that's enough pumpkin for painting for this session. And so maybe I would like to come in and draw a little bit of darker of the red, and let the red just mix on the paper with the Indian yellow and the other color. Okay, and so I come in here and I will soften the edge and just pull the color up, and it looks like there's a highlight right there. It's one of the reasons I wanted to. I do that with flowers too when I paint flowers, but I was very excited to paint pumpkin because then I can show you how I use the background to show the light and the dark to make the form stand out. Okay, now we're back to the last section. We're to the last section, okay? And so the highlight I can see is just right around there. Okay, so I'll paint all the way from this area and paint the whole thing and leave that little area with highlight, okay? And that's pretty much, I think, painting watercolor that you have to be careful with. Sorry, you have to be careful with, you know. There's not a lot of little, well, there are other little tricks that could help you, but I think if you're willing to take the time and, you know, trying to use your eyes to see what is actually in a form or in a picture or in an object, then it really helps a lot. Okay. I probably could use a bigger brush. Yeah, probably use a bigger brush would also be a good idea because there's so much color and pigment that you need to put on, but it works for me. This pink brush of mine, the Happy Dog Detail, the Chinese one, is my favorite. So I use that almost on everything. I should go order myself one. I'll go down to the university bookstore and see if they have a bigger one. I doubt it that they do. Pumpkin is a big object. Usually I paint flowers or animal where I don't need to paint such a big area. Okay, so now in order to give the painting a little time to dry so we can darken some of the parts and maybe add some texture for fun, we'll go on to the stem first, okay? Go on to the stems and okay, so this is I'm using kind of like, I think this is a size 8 paintbrush. I got it from Jackson. Oh, it says 6 on there, so it must be a size 6, sorry. Okay, so what I'm going to do for the stem is very easy. In the beginning of the video, I show you that I have yellow French ochre. Okay, so if you don't have French ochre, just kind of like a dull yellow color, not too bright of yellow color, and I'm going to mix that with a sepia. Okay, I think that in the beginning when I practice, that seems to look most like the stem of a pumpkin. Okay, so you want a little bit of the pumpkin to be a little bit of a grayish or beige-ish, with just one little tag of yellow. Okay, one little tag of yellow in it. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. Okay, but in a minute, if I have time, catch myself, I have time before the color over here dry. I'm going to drop actually a little bit of green, just for fun. Okay, so now I hope I have a little bit of a minute. I want to drop some green color and let it mix over there. Okay, that one, the yellow and sepia is already drying, so I need to go in there and soften it, or else it won't look quite right. Okay, so now that is pretty good. Okay, and so now I'm looking at the pumpkin from the side and look like this is the last part I painted, but they feel pretty dry, so we can come in and play with it. Okay, now in the beginning I show you that I used this paint called transparent red oxide. Okay, so now I'm going to go in there and try to do the ridge. Is it what is called the ridge? Because I feel like that's the darkest part. And when we do that, then the pumpkin will look more, have more of a form to it. Okay, so okay, and so since it's not a solid line, what I'm doing here is I'm coming back and softening the edge. Okay, so since this edge is this section is the closest to us, it kind of shadow this part just a little bit. There's some shadow on itself too, okay, but the main part is shadowing this side on the right side, and so we pull out the shadow more on the right side. And at the bottom of the pumpkin is actually darker over here, so we can come in with a little bit more pigment And darken that part so it looks like it's the pumpkin is turning in. Oh, okay. I just check and make sure that you guys can see me. Okay, and so I'm very happy and content with the way that looks right now. Okay, now in a little bit, maybe at the very end, if we still don't think that they're dark enough, then we can come in with some sepia or grayish blue, pinks gray, and intensify the shadow. But I think as for right now, we're actually doing quite well. Okay, and so this part is dark, right? Because it's caving into the pumpkin, so we wanted to do that a little bit. Okay, and I felt like, oh, you know, I really wanted to intensify that little corner right there. It's just not dark enough for me. So what I'm doing is I'm wetting my sepia paint, and then I come in here, and so I can actually make that look actually quite dark. Okay, and that will give an idea, that suggestion that it's actually going in. Okay, and so I want to do some for this area and that area too, and over here, and so on and so forth. Okay, but let's go on to this next ridge, the ridge that's going in, and put some of that transparent red oxide. You know, of course, I've been a watercolorist for a long time, so I have all these fancy paints, and every time we go to Salt Lake City, we go to Blake's Art, and my husband will want to go with me inside and see if I can find some other paint to you know, try out. But if you don't have a transparent red oxide, what I will do is I will go to a brown color, like any brown color that you have on your palette, and I will mix that up with a little bit of red. Okay, and keep mixing and mixing until you're happy. And I think that's what transparent red oxide is. It's just a dark brown color, like a umber color. But you know, if you don't have that, you can just like look at your palette and see what brown color you have, and then soften this a little bit. That was a lot of water. Those kinds of things happen a lot with watercolor. Sometimes you don't see a drop of water coming and it just drop onto your painting and you're not quite happy. But you know, I'm actually happy with that, but we can come in and add some texture on it in a little bit, okay? And so now let's work on this ridge over here. Okay, this ridge, I think what I will do is I will actually soften the edge of the ridge on both sides. So because this is a ridge that you see that I'm doing a V shape over here, because this edge is like this section of the pumpkin actually are both exposed, in my opinion. And from the picture I'm looking at, actually it's a little bit darker over there. Okay, but I felt like I also wanted to soften this side over here. Okay, actually from with the picture I'm looking at, it's actually quite dark, but we don't have to make it that dark. Okay, but I like to, since my brush is such a fine brush, you know, I like to maybe give a little not intensify, I'm trying to make this line a little bit thicker so that the shadow is a little bit bigger on that side. Okay, I'm quite happy with it for now, but I think I will come back and work on it. Now we work on this ridge over here, this ridge, this part is facing us, and so it casts a shadow on the other side. And I think instead of using such a small brush, I'm gonna see if I can find a little bit of a thicker brush so I can make the ridge of the pumpkin on that side a little bit thicker. Okay, we'll see in this if this will work. Okay, usually I'm like, now that I'm filming, I will turn my painting so that my arm can curve this way, and so I stand up and look at my camera, so it gives me the chance to make sure that this is inside the camera frame. Okay, so my hand can actually come over this way, and that will give me an advantage of painting like that. We watercolorists turn our painting a lot because now I'm softening the edge of that ridge. Okay, softening the edge, but I wanted the shadow over here to be even bigger, so I'm coming in with more pigment and deepening, or thickening, actually, not deepening, thickening the shadow area over here. Okay, so it's a little bit bigger, a little bit thicker. Okay, so the pumpkin actually looks a little bit thicker. Okay, the ridge area, not the pumpkin, and over here, I remember in the original part I dropped some red color in there. Okay, so now I'm going to once again turn this. Okay, so now I actually have a condition, okay, incident that just happened to me. Okay, as I put this in, the pigment was very diluted. Okay, so it wasn't as intense as I wanted it. And as a watercolorist, the experience that I learned is leave it alone, let the pigment be just not so intense if that's what it wanted to do. And once it's dry, then we'll come on and intensify it. If you try to play with it now, you have a big mess in your hand. You really would. Okay, and let it go. Okay, you can still see the pumpkin go in and then it come out that side, right? But it could be a little more intense, and I would like it to be a little more intense. Okay, now back to my very, very small Princeton brush. This very, very small Princeton brush, Aquavel. I don't remember where I ordered it. Probably Jackson. Oh no, I probably got it from Blick's Watercolor up in Salt Lake City. Okay, so I'm going in here so that you can see the ridge over here. Okay, and darken those areas. Because how the pumpkin turned in, those areas are in the shadow a lot. Okay, and just a tiny little bit over here. A tiny little bit over here. Because we believe the sun is so intense that it actually, over there, we should just leave it alone and let it be the way it is. Okay, and now let's to the part where we can have some fun. Okay, so what I'm going to do is in the beginning I show you I use quinacridone burnt orange, which is a really fun color, and now I'm going to go in there, here and there, give the pumpkin a little bit of a texture. A little bit of a texture, okay? So, okay, remember over here, I wasn't quite liking this part, okay? So this is my artist license to go in here and actually give it some texture. Okay, I say, hey, maybe the texture is too harsh. I can dry this and come back and give some edge softness and some edge sharp, so that you can see that the pumpkin actually have some texture to it. Okay. Every time I put down some paint, I actually go towards the back of the chair and kind of give myself, take a look and see, hey, am I happy with the way it looks? But those kind of things you don't really see unless somebody actually filming me. This brush is my very, very old Daniel Smith brush. I talked about this in a different video before. They don't make this anymore, but it's a very cheap brush, but one of my favorite, and I try to go back to see if I can find it, and Daniel Smith doesn't do brushes anymore. So I'm very sad I only have one. It's a very rough brush. Daniel Smith 2204, number 6. I actually saw people talk about it, and a famous artist says not a very good it's not a very good not a very good brush, but somehow, you know, I like it. But no, it's not going, I'm not going to be able to find that again. That's part of the fun of being a watercolorist. You can go out and try things and hunt for things and fall in love with things, and then never able to find it again. You know, I think I just actually didn't do a line right there, so I will have to remember the ridge over there, and also these part need to be darkened a little bit. Okay, should I be happy, or should I be a little more consistent and put some color over here and put some on each, and some over here? These are just for fun. You can actually do it or skip it. It doesn't really matter. I went to the store and they already have some pumpkin. I don't know where the pumpkin come from, but they probably just get it locally. Usually our neighborhood store here get their stuff locally. And I was staring at their box. I usually like to get it from the local farm people. That's just the way I like to do things. Okay, so I say that's good. Let's get this a little bit bigger of a brush, and I'm going to go into the sepia, actually, the sepia, and give this a little bit of a dark area. And over there too. Then come on, this needs to be, the paintbrush needs to be very dry when you're trying to pull the color out of a very, very small area, because you can imagine if you have a big puddle of water in your brush, it would be hard to not make a mess. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go into that area that I told you earlier, and then I will intensify that color. Intensify that dark area. Okay, and since I think this is a dark area, a really dark area, I'll go in and darken that, area too. Maybe this should be very dark, right? Okay. And so I told you if I didn't do this part, I actually forgot about this. And now I'll come in and this part need to be a little darker. Let's do that. Okay. And I think the pumpkin itself is done. So let's take my small brush. That's what I did yesterday when I was doing the practicing for the stems. Make sure the stems is in. Okay. Now this is really fun. I want the stem to be able to twist, okay? And so, to look like to you that it's twisting. Okay, so I'm going from this area right here, okay? So nice to be an artist. You can do whatever you want. And come over here, okay? Okay, make that dark. Come over here. And then straight away I dry the brush the best that I can, and I'll put the color out. Yeah, the brush just needs to be very, very dry, okay? Sometimes just make sure you do that, okay? And so let's do another twist right here, okay? This is so much fun. As an artist, you can almost, you felt like you are. If nature doesn't grow that way, we'll make it happen on paper. Actually, nature does happen that way, so we can be happy and comfortable at telling the paper to do what we want it to do. Okay, and so one more twist. Here to here, okay? And so I darken this area, then you can give you a impression that the pumpkin's actually twisting. How fun is that? Okay, and then over the very tip of the stem, I want it to look like it's dark. Okay, so I did that. Isn't that fun? Okay, but that's not it. Okay, so it twisted once and I twisted twice, and over here I will make this area dark over here, okay? Because the light is coming through here, there might be some light, you know, bounce off and be there, and this part over here, that you should see that it is actually a darker area. Okay, so I am going to use my brush and make it do that, okay? Do that. And now since this brush is very, very small, I'm not going to be able to pull the color and fill that area. So I'll go back to my second smallest brush. Okay, so this color that I'm using, the stem earlier, right, if you remember, is French ochre plus sepia, and now I'm just using just sepia to darken the side of the stem. So when you try to paint light like that, then you can actually make the stem look like it's a cylinder. Okay, now the paint is getting a little wet, so I'll just leave it alone. Just leave it alone and we'll come back and deal with it a little bit more, but as this side also needed to be a little bit darker. Okay, so I don't know if you hear my doorbell. I can't go to the door, so because my video is running, so I'll just let it go for now. Okay, doesn't that look fun? Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back with not as dark as this sepia, but a lighter tone with the French ochre, and I will just randomly draw some line, draw some line over here, so you can because in nature, right, the stem of a pumpkin does have lines and darks and lines and darks. Okay, doesn't that look more like a pumpkin? Okay, I might even, go over here and do some lines in that green color. Okay. Wonder if it was the Amazon people delivering stuff. Don't have to be too careful with the line. You can go this way, that way. Oh, actually it is a friend that just left. I felt so bad I didn't answer the door. Do I need to feel bad? I just saw a friend's car, but I'm not quite sure who that is. I love my neighbors around here. All of my neighbors are my friends. It's a very nice feeling to have that. Okay. They're so kind. I love the women around here. They're very, very kind, and like this is the season where people left fruits and vegetables, or not fruits so much, vegetable from their garden. On your lawn, on your footstep. That's very nice. Okay, I think this is what I'm going to do for today for my pumpkin tutorial. It won't take too long, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just finishing off with some background, just some green color on the back, and then I will post that on my blog, and hope you can actually come and paint with me again. Thank you so much. Leave me a comment if you have questions or anything, okay? I really love to hear from you. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.